This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
Checking the microphones, going good.
It's the 25th of August, 2020. My name is Corey Winfield, and this is the 217 Recovery Podcast. Very special guest joining us today, and she reached out and was like, hey, I think your listeners might appreciate some of the stuff that I know and some of the things that I've gone through, and let's hook up. Her name is Jill, and I hooked up with Jill. Jill is on the phone with me now. Jill, how are you?
Fabulous, thanks. How are you doing, Corey?
I'm doing pretty well. Now, you probably noticed I didn't attempt your last name.
Yeah.
Armijo.
Good job. That's just it. It's Armijo, like Army Ho, but with the emphasis on the me part. Yeah, my poor husband got a lot of ribbing when he was growing up.
Oh, that's awesome. And your husband is a vet.
Yeah.
And
you want to get into it later, or do you want me to tell you just a little background on that right now, or?
We'll get into the husband here in just a minute, because that's something that really intrigues me. And of course, this podcast is about recovery. And you had mentioned that you had caught one of the podcasts, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and I was talking about one of my worst days and how I dealt with that. And it didn't involve me picking up a bottle and make it even more of a worse day. But I dealt with it, and, the difference between how I'm dealing with my issues now and how I dealt with them 3 to 4 years ago, completely different. And this is way, way healthier to talk on a podcast. But when you did that kind of thing and you reached out, it actually opens the door for so many people like that listen to this podcast to kind of get to know you and the things that you do. And where I'm going with this, I guess, is because the mental aspect of recovery goes way beyond just recovery, just recovery from, substance use. It goes through all kinds of different things. And when I noticed that you said you were a caregiver, you are a caregiver.
Yeah.
But you provide support. Now, a lot of people, when they think of addiction, they think, oh, some dude with a needle in his arm and he's living on the streets. Well, when I think of caregiver, I think of somebody who takes care of a really, really old person. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case.
Not necessarily.
No, that's not
Although
really.
There's lots of them out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I guess we can get into your husband a little bit, because your husband was he's Army or Navy, but he's a veteran, and you were his caregiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the reasons I found your podcast is because I try to do a little bit of research when I have a new client, and actually the client that I'm going to just tell you really quickly about is not even a client. I met her through a volunteer organization that matches up caregivers with a peer support person, and her boyfriend is a user, and he's really trying hard not to be, and she's trying to be a good girlfriend, and she's trying to understand him and help him and take care of him. The reason she really struggled was because he at some point had to have a surgery, and he was in so much pain that it was just really difficult for her to actually take care of him, because he kind of wouldn't let her, and he was using, and she was frustrated and thought, should I, dump him? Should I do this? And she was, she found out about this support organization and contacted them. And since I care for my husband and she cares for him, we seemed like a good match. And it's been such a beautiful experience to work with her. And he's still using, he still struggles, and she has decided to stay with him because of the things she's learned about herself that have taught her that she can love him and support him through it. When people use and they don't want to and they want to recover, it's a long, long process. Mm-hmm. And they need somebody, or many somebodies sometimes, who don't pretend like they know what they're going through, and they don't say, well, you need to think positively, and you need to, do these constructive things, and you need to blah, blah, blah. They don't propose to know a thing about what the user is going through. They're just there for them over and over and over. And she and I have such a friendship now, and I just admire her for how she's caring for him and for the steps that she's taken. She's such a good, I want to say patient, because I was a therapist for 30 years, but she's not my patient, she's just my friend. But anyway, so that's kind of why I wanted to speak to your audience. And also, I had my own addictions, not to substances, maybe, unless you count food as substance. But I suffered with a victim mentality for many years after my husband came back from his experience in the war with PTSD, and because of that stress, he developed schizophrenia, which is in his family, and he is delusional every day. And for a long time ago, I wallowed in a lot of self-pity, and I buffered by eating. And a few years ago, I ended up with so much arthritis from eating junk. I was in a wheelchair and not really able to do my job. So I put myself through health coaching school, and that's what inspired me to start my business. And I first started trying to find clients who wanted to lose weight, because that's kind of what happened to me. But then after I worked with a bunch of clients and helped them to, figure out why they're eating and what the cause is, and how to, not perseverate on the food, and how to just love themselves and take care of themselves, it dawned on me I didn't want to be a weight loss coach. I wanted to be a caregiver coach. And I really, really wanted to reach out to people who are caring for somebody who is addicted to anything, whether it's gossip or gambling or, whatever. Like we all use something, Netflix or shopping, to buffer when we're uncomfortable. And so anyway, I just kind of went on and on and on about me for a minute. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. And you hit on a few topics. Now, I didn't even think about people being addicted to gossip, but I guess, yeah. I mean, that does make sense.
Terrible plague, yes. And we can even recognize it in ourselves. And then we judge ourselves, and we think, oh, I shouldn't do that. And then we get all nasty and mean to ourselves. And the one thing I've learned with caring for people is that after we're nasty to ourselves enough times and we criticize ourselves, we kind of hide from ourselves. And that's the worst case of poor caregiving that we can do to ourselves. And so as a caregiver coach, I don't tell people to, get their nails done and do the bubble bath or even eat healthy and jog. I just have them focus mostly on their thoughts and their emotions. And that's another reason I really loved that podcast. And a bunch of your podcasts, like I totally binge listened after that point, before I got in touch with you. And so it's interesting to me how, and you're funny, you've kind of got that dry humor, and your co-host that you have now, is her name Lisa? I can't remember.
Marnie.
Marnie.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Lisa. Anyway, she's she's really cute too. She's just so soft-spoken, and so she really keeps you on your toes a little bit. She just kind of keeps you centered. And I just think you're a good pair. And I just felt like I just wanted to get to know you. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you reached out, and you have a book that you have out, right?
Yeah. It's just the story of, meeting my husband, falling in love with him. I married him because he was this guy, and then he came home from the war and, flipped. Like he's still the same guy, but it took me a lot of years to figure out that he's still the same guy. He just has some problems that he didn't used to have. But at first, I thought, I don't know this guy. What did they do with my husband over there? Because he is a mess. And it was really scary for both of us. He didn't know why his mind was playing tricks on him and why he didn't think his mind was playing tricks on him. He was in total denial. He thought I had rose-colored glasses on and I couldn't see the conspiracies and I couldn't see all the things. And I mean, he even has hallucinations of, cigarette smoke when there isn't any, and wonders why I don't go pound on the neighbor's door or call the police, or, he always wants me to do things. And so it was just really stressful. And so it's the story of how we figured out all the things. And I'm so grateful that I wrote the book, because for me, it was transformational to, go over the whole story in my head again and ask my kids questions and ask my husband questions. Like, I asked him a ton of questions for his perspective on this and that and all our experiences. And to just look through my journal entries and when I was finished with the book and I, let my husband read it and I let a few other people read it, and they had questions and they talked to me about it, I had a complete flip of my perspective of the situation. And to me, he is someone I honor and I respect, and I don't know how he stayed in our marriage because of all the things he suspected of me. I don't know how he's not on the streets. I don't know how he didn't resort to alcohol, because he, has experienced alcohol before and didn't want to, be addicted to alcohol or anything. But, when you're frustrated and to the end of your rope, like he's been almost on a daily basis, I don't know how he has been the amazing dad and the great father that he is. And so when I finished writing my book, I just had all this love in my heart for him that I kind of had forgotten about over the years. And so it was, for me, it was the best gift I could have done for myself. And I did it for me, but it's helping a lot of people. It's just so gratifying. I get like emails, and they're like on a more consistent basis now. Like almost every day I get an email from somebody somewhere. There's my son just moved to Illinois he graduated from college and moved to Illinois this summer and got a job. He's an engineer, and at church he met a lady who said, "Are you this lady's son? Because she talks about this kid in her book named David, and your name is David Armijo, and is that you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so then he told me this lady in Illinois had bought my book, and I was like, "Wow, that's so cool." And it's helping her, and it's really, it makes me happy that I can help other people to stay with their loved one, or to get out of the relationship if that's what they need to do. Because, sometimes you really should leave. I look at it as your relationship is complete. You've had the relationship with the person that's helped you grow in whatever way, and now you need to move on and keep growing yourself. Sometimes staying with the person is going to limit you. So anyway, I just want everybody to just do the best self-care they can do just by being uncomfortable and not resorting to the buffering that I did for so many years, and realizing that sometimes life is uncomfortable.
It's hard sometimes, Jill. And
it's freaking hard.
It's hard. And what's the name of that book, though?
It's called Home of the Unknown Soldier.
And that's the book that the woman read and saw your son and was like, "Hey."
Yeah.
So now I know it's very rewarding, and but you really feel like you have a sense of purpose, and that everything that you went through, Jill, like all the bad times, all the times where you're questioning, what am I doing, or what is going on with him, all those moments that were just